meeting started, please. As soon as Carlo is ready, please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Here.
Delisano?
Present.
Kutcher?
Here.
Olszewski? Here. Ritters?
Here.
Funkhauser?
Here.
Chamoulis?
Here.
Hernandez? A quorum is established.
We have amendments to tonight's agenda. Yes, sir.
I would like to move Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes.
Right. I'd like to move number 3, PZC 2018-04 and 2018-29 regarding Prescott Access Point subdivision to go immediately after public comment. And then I'd like to move AE Tom Lake Michigan's water study out of presentations and after the vote on Prestwick Ashley Point subdivision.
Second. Any other amendments to the agenda tonight? All those in favor of amending the agenda, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so what we'll do is citizen comments first. Do we have any citizen comments on items that are on the agenda this evening?
Good evening, my name is Jamie Lorenzen and I'm currently a junior at Yorkville Christian High School. I would like to briefly share with you why it's important to me, why my school is so important to me and to my life. When I had first started high school, I started off as a very anxious person and I had a very difficult time building relationships with people. My anxiety was so bad that I was medicated with both anti-anxiety and antidepressants. It wasn't until, though, I came to Yorkville Christian that I learned it was okay to be accepted as who I was. Very quickly, everyone there, students, staff, the founders, welcomed me with open arms, and the stewards very quickly adopted me and other students into their family in a way no one else ever has. There has never been a time where they haven't put the students' needs far before their own, which is a very selfless thing to do, especially in pursuit of everything else that they are currently working on. It's just been such an influential part of my life, and it's helped shape me. I've had teachers who told us our grades come before our mental and emotional health prior to coming here, and that my morals should not surpass how I do on a test or how I interact with people. Essentially, our goal was just to pass the test and move on, and you couldn't think as a person, and you couldn't have a voice, and you couldn't have an opinion. When I came here, they made sure that I, as a person, could go out into society and be a useful member, that I could speak for myself, think for myself, interact in the business world, and succeed as a person. So, to conclude this, I urge you to vote for the annexation.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizen comments on items that are on the agenda this evening?
Good evening. My name is Michelle Lorenzen. My daughter is Jamie. I just wanted to speak to the fact that Yorkville Christian has made a difference in my child's life. As she mentioned, she had struggled before with some emotional and mental health issues. And she is starting to really come around, and she is finding her voice, which is apparent. Her emotional stability means more than the academics. Then even, I'll say even more than the faith right now, because it is her who is growing. This year has been extremely trying for my family. My 3-year-old son was diagnosed with a degenerative metabolic disease. Without the support of the stewards and Yorkville Christian, my daughter's junior year, I think, would have turned out much differently. Instead of feeling debilitated in society, she feels a sense of family. Even when we're at the hospital 50 miles away, we can trust that her education and her emotional well-being are being valued and cared for. I myself am an educator. I've taught everything from pre-K through Yes, Alex Paul. I understand that these kids, they will not learn if they are not in a good place. Yorkville Christian has meant emotional stability to my daughter and to others. Having the building, having the high school move forward is a sense of pride and ownership that we can't take away from these children. And that's something they need right now. In conclusion, I urge you to approve the amendment. Not only, again, for the high school itself, but for the community it serves. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizen comments?
Good evening. My name is Mark Alton Burns. I'm coming to you as a board member of Yorkville Christian, as a teacher at Yorkville Christian, as a parent of a student who's going to be at Yorkville Christian next year as a freshman, and also as a local attorney who spends too much time in court. I was asked to speak here to tell you why you should approve this annexation agreement. I don't think I can do any better than the comments that have already been made as to what we're doing or what we're trying to do over at Yorkville Christian. We're giving people a choice. We're giving kids a safe place to go, and it's been successful so far, and our numbers show it will continue to be more successful as time goes on. I'm here to speak to you primarily about Ashley Road. I know that's kind of the sticking point here. I guess the reality is if we don't get this school completed, if we don't get our occupancy permit, that subdivision is not going to be full of homes, and that road is not going to be built because we're the ones that are looking to build it. We agreed to make the improvements. We got the bond to make the improvements, and we will continue to make the improvements. I believe we've talked to various people about the years that we're looking to complete that project, and we're going to move as quickly as IDOT will allow us to move. But it's important, and I urge all of you to understand that without this school, those other things that will be good for this city will not happen. So I urge you to pass the annexation, allow us to get this school full of students, get that subdivision full of homes, and get that road fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Aaron Sovereign. I'm the administrator at Yorkville Christian High School, and I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. First of all, if I could just get on record, anyone that's here in support of the annexation amendment, if you wouldn't mind standing up, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys coming to show your support. Just from an administrator point of view, and I wear a lot of hats at school, athletic director, basketball coach, teacher, part-time custodian, just a little bit of everything, but, and I also have a son at the school, and from a parent perspective, just seeing the lives that have been changed. I mean, Jamie, I appreciate you coming and speaking, but there's countless stories. Every student has a story, and it's just been amazing to see the lives that have been changed. I mean, we have students coming from 16 different school districts, 16 different high school districts, as far out as Chicago. We have a student who experienced tragedy and had a brother shot and killed, and mom wanted him out and wanted him in a safe place. And that's our primary objective, whether it's a religious aspect or not. We want to give kids a safe place to go. And so I urge you with this amendment to this annexation agreement to vote in favor of it, so this school can continue to thrive and be a light in the community, because that's what we're looking to do, and we get our students in the community serving as much as possible. They're just being hands and feet in that regard. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wayne. Anyone else? Okay, if nobody else, we'll move on to PZC 2018-04, Crestwood Ashley Point subdivision. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance approving the third amendment to the annexation agreement of Yorkville Farms Development, Crestwood of Yorkville subdivision, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to amend the Third Amendment to the annexation agreement, page 2, item 2D, to read, "The city agrees that the intersection improvements for Ashley Road and Route 126 intersection improvements shall be completed by owner developer before November 2021 intersection improvement completion date."
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the motion to amend? Hearing none, roll call on the motion to amend.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Olszewski. Aye. Coe,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Raiders,
Aye.
Turles,
Aye.
Valesino.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, back to the original amended motion. Any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
So I think last time after the public hearing, I was pretty clear with how I felt about not the school, but the private school, and the reason why I initially voted yes back in 2013. And then if you guys can remember, about a couple years later, we had the proposed sports dome on Fox Road. During that whole process, you had the property owner with every right to do whatever the heck they wanted on that property, as long as it met with the city's zoning and the requirements set forth by the city and the county. In the case of the dome, it actually fit the city's comprehensive plan. During the dome process, the property owners turned into developers were treated like crap, for lack of a better term, over their right to build something they were allowed to do on property that they owned. The court of public opinion ruled against that location for the dome because the neighbors in the community surrounding it were vehemently against it for a number of reasons. But the main reason was increased traffic. No need to mention any other influencing factors on the volume of the angry crowd, like the guy that yelled at the people in the wheelchairs out front of City Hall that one day, or any subtle or blatant form of intimidation and bullying we all witnessed for those few weeks. The proposed Fox Road dome didn't even make it to a vote. It was killed in the community, just like recent proposals regarding Ron Clark Park. Different circumstances, some similar behavior, same result. But the opponents of the Fox Road dome, their strongest leg to stand on was the fear of an increase in traffic. Traffic was the big reason to oppose it. So now we have a new private high school, permitted to be built on private land as long as architectural, landscape, parking, fire safety, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, traffic flow plans are approved. Included in the plans was the agreement of specific requirements that would see a dedicated access connected to a non-residential road, in addition to ensuring no detriment to the quality of life for those who owned homes on a property or property surrounding the development, whether it was through traffic or through flooding. Besides the obvious, what's different between the proposed Fox Road dome and the new private high school is that Fox Road was a quiet country road, and residents were concerned with increased traffic and accidents and congestion. All of the buses. Yet here we are, we have a well-traveled and notorious roadway, known to be a dangerous road because of speeders, poor visibility, and its long-standing fatal track record. I have friends in this room that had a mutual friend's husband die on that road, not too far east of them. Now we're asking to gradually increase the traffic until it hits 300 students without the two main points of an agreement that were the deciding factor for a few of us who are still on this council. Access Road and the Ashley Road improvements. Had this been a sports dome on a lesser traveled roadway and traffic improvements that were part of the original deal not completed, it wouldn't open. The dome wouldn't even be standing here asking for the change because in that instance, now on Galena Road, their entrance was an essential part of their project and they were in constant communication with the city on how to see themselves open for business. They didn't wait 4 years and then with 5 months left say, well, we'll do what we said we were going to do after we get what we want, which is what we were only going to get by doing what we said we were going to do. That might sound confusing, but that's how this whole thing is played out. So while I understand the importance of the community around the school, I myself went to private Catholic school. I know it's not as good as a Christian school. A couple of your emails reminded me of that. But I understand that small schools are a community. No one is negating the fact that your school is important. I, unfortunately, am still under the opinion that we made a decision, or I made a decision voting in favor of your school based on two things. And those two things now aren't going to come until 3.5 years after you're open, or 3 years after you're open. So unfortunately, I hate to be, actually I'll give you a quick story. My first city meeting, Carlo was disagreeing with the guy who used to sit right here, Larry Cotton. And they both stood up at the end of the meeting and said, well, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. I am prepared to be the bug because I'm only going to be sitting in the seat for about 800 more days. But I can't vote for something that I don't believe in. So I apologize for being the fly in the ointment, but that's kind of the way that I'm sitting. So.
All right, thank you, Joel. Any other comments?
You know, we got a lot of emails from everybody, thank you for reaching out. And the one thing that the tone was that I felt like when I read them, you felt we were being the bad guys about the school. I never looked at this issue, I guess, as being about the school because I want the school there. Schools are an important thing, it's an important school, there's a need for it. The tone was that like we're letting you all down who have children going into school. But I didn't look at it that way. I'm really sorry the Stewarts let you down. I'm with Joel. We voted for this because we wanted that road done. They had over 4 years. They could have, you know what? If they had started the IDOT a year into that and they came out today and said, hey, I want an amendment because IDOT hasn't finished it, I'm all for it. But they didn't even start it. So I guess it's kind of, I am happy with the amendment because let's face it, if you have to start with IDOT now. Now you've got to go do it, and now you got to get it done. But I just want to, I want to clear that I don't think it's the council here letting you down so much. I think your developers have. I think the Stewarts have. I think they should have did their due diligence. They agreed to this over 4 years ago. They did nothing. So in that, I'm very disappointed. I will vote for the amendment because, like I said, even that gets it done. You know, it's going to take 3.5 years to get it done. So let's do it. But I appreciate it. I appreciate your passion for your school. But I think it's misguided, this is my feeling, of making me, as I read yours, that we're letting it down. We should support it. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think it's kind of a no-brainer because I want that everybody thinks 126 is so dangerous and that we should get it fixed. And this is one opportunity where we have bond in place. When we do this, it'll get fixed. If something was to happen, it doesn't pass, and then the school doesn't materialize, we're going to be here taking the city is not going to be able to fix this. We're not going to do that. So if we got someone that's willing to fix it, I'm all for it.
Yes, sir.
Well, we heard that before. So the silver lining in the whole amendment that you guys are going to vote for is that there will be a bond in place. There will be a safety net. And I had a lengthy discussion about, well, isn't it better to vote for something even though it's different than what you originally agreed on, just because you'll see the end result. And I think we can all attest to the fact that I am a living, walking, breathing example of things can change. Like, you have to understand the only reason I'm sitting here is because I own a house over there with no roads. So the fact that that's actually coming to fruition means I do believe in things changing. But if we're going to base our, for me personally, if I was going to base my yes vote on the fact that, well, now there's going to be a bond in place. If there wasn't a bond in place and there wasn't a school, that means that there would be no increased detriment. Now we're talking about giving 3.5 years to complete a roadway improvement that's supposed to be done at the time of opening, before occupancy. And we're going to basically use roadways that still have houses off of them. Granted, there's nothing immediate going on there, but that's not the point. That's yet another reason why we made the agreement that we made back in 2013. So yes, when you guys vote yes and this goes through, there will be a bond in place. We will have a safeguard. We will make those improvements. But from my perspective, we weren't going to make the improvements anyway until they came along and said they were going to do it. So when I say I'm going to do it, I have to do it because my word is only as good as my word. And if I continue along a path, and you made a brilliant point, if along the way you saw how long it took IDOT to respond to you, say, hey, we need to start talking about a contingency in place for this intersection because we're not getting anywhere with this one. Sure, hindsight is 20/20, but from my perspective, the bond is going to be the thing that makes this thing work. But also from my perspective, I wouldn't have voted for it had it not been already proposed to be done now, before occupancy.
Okay, anyone else? With that, roll call on the original amended motion.
Olszewski.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Nay.
Raiders.
Nay.
Churlis.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Funkauser.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mayor,
No,
Observe.
two-thirds against the mayor. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Mayor.
Aye.
So motion is passed.
All right, thank you all. We have one more under Ashley Point. I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving the amended final plat of re-subdivision for the Yorkville Christian School subdivision and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Cook.
Aye.
Clocher.
Nay.
Raiders.
Nay.
Churlis.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Funkauser.
Aye.
Milczewski. Aye.
And that's with a simple majority, right?
Fourth, but yes.
Okay, so that motion passes. All right, thank you all. You're all welcome to stick around for the water study.
Can I leave?
Oops, sorry. How are you?
But we need water.
Water,
Out of water.
This is what I've been waiting for.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Speaker.
It's his work does. He was always a classy dresser. I remember that from my AG days.
After you. You do the blocking, bro.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Congratulations.
Okay, AD Con, you're up.
All right, thank you. My name is Mike Weingart with AECOM, and with me is Chad Lautkamp and Dan Elcati.
You want to kill some lights? You probably kill the fans a little bit too.
Okay, I'll try to do this real quick. We were retained by both Oswego and Yorkville last July. Our final report was finished in October, and we made a few presentations since then. So the purpose of the study was, I believe you all know, that the deep sandstone aquifer will be depleted sometime in the future. Nobody knows exactly how far away. A previous study recommended utilizing and treating Fox River water. We were approached about what would be involved in purchasing treated Lake Michigan water through the DuPage Water Commission, and what would that approximate cost be? So what we did was we looked at the projected water demands for both Oswego and Yorkville. And so I'm concentrating mainly on Yorkville down here at the bottom. But in 2014, the average day was expected to be about 1.38 million gallons a day, and a little almost double that on a maximum day in July. In the year 2020, it's projected to be 2.06 million gallons a day, and exactly double that on a hot day in July, 4.12. And the 2050 is supposed to be 5.36 million gallons a day and 10.72 on a maximum day. That comes out to about 90 gallons per person a day. And then they also looked at more water conservation, etc., and it's slightly less than that in 2050, 4.77 million gallons a day and 8.34. So we were asked just to try to come up with a cost, a relative cost. What would this cost to tap onto DuPage? And the DuPage system ends in Naperville there, about 75th Street and Book Road. So segment one is that greenish yellow piece, and that's 42-inch diameter pipe, and that would feed, at the time, Oswego's going to have one connection, and Yorkville was going to have one. And so that's about 7.64 miles. And then that red one is 30-inch diameter, and that's about 9.7 miles. And then the last segment to Yorkville was 2.34 miles, and that's also 30-inch diameter pipe. So, what is the demands? The first question was, can DuPage Water Commission supply Yorkville and Oswego? So you look at 2020 average day, including all their existing customers and Bartlett, who just is tapping on right now, they'll be getting water about a year from now. The existing customers are 79.4 million gallons a day, and with Oswego and Yorkville, it's 85. Their capacity right now with the system they have in place is about 185, so that's no problem on an average day. And even on a maximum day, if Oswego does hit 13.9 million gallons a day on a maximum day in 2050, and Yorkville is 9.2, the existing customers are projected to be 161. That gives us 185, which is the capacity right now in the year 2018 without any improvements. So the answer is yes, they can supply Yorkville and Oswego. What about the pressures? Yorkville is a little lower than Oswego, so Yorkville has no problems at all. On a 2020 maximum day, the pressure coming from DuPage all that way would be about 95 pounds. And on a maximum day in the year 2050, it would be about 45 pounds. So the commission supplies approximately 30 entities right now. And the way they do it, there's 4 different types of receiving stations. So this is just a schematic of one of them. But basically what they do is there's 4 ways they serve water. One is they put it into existing ground storage reservoirs, and if the pressure is too high, they'll have a pressure reducing station. The second one is, if it goes right in your system, it'll just be a pressure reducing station. The third one is, if the pressure is the same as yours, it'll be a rate of flow control station. And finally, if you need more pressure than they can give you, it would be a pump station or a pressure increasing station. So, using the route that we just showed you, what would the cost be? It's about 20 miles of water main, 30 inch and 42 inch diameter, and including engineering contingency, it comes out to about $70 million in today's dollars to bring that water from the end of the DuPage system all the way to Yorkville. Those costs were based on not doing anything within the distribution systems at the time because we didn't know what was going to be included or not. No pressure adjusting stations at the time, no cost for land acquisition, and only one connection per municipality. What would that cost be per 1,000 gallons? And you're going to see in a minute how we came up with the buy-in cost for the Water Commission. But the total project cost for Yorkville, and that includes buying into the Water Commission, is $30 million. If you take that out over the average customers right now, 1.38 million gallons a day, that comes out to a cost for debt service, construction, and buy-in of $3.71. DuPage charges $4.88. So that would give your wholesale cost $8.59. And on top of that, you have to add the distribution cost within Yorkville on top of that. To put everything in perspective, I live on a private water system between Naperville and Wheaton, and we pay $15 a 1,000 gallons. How do you get the buy-in cost? What DuPage does is, you got to remember, a lot of these customers have been paying into the Water Commission since it started in the early 90s. So they have a formula, and this is how it is, and it's based on your current demand over the entire demand of the system, average day demand. So Yorkville's down at the bottom, it's a little hard to see, but it's 2-year advance to join in now because your average day right now is only 1.38 million gallons a day. So that's how they charge you. The buy-in cost is based on what you're going to be using at the beginning. So even though in the year 2050, your demand is supposed to be, many times this, your buy-in cost is based on what it is at the beginning. So, how long will it take to build? Our estimate is negotiations with the Water Commission would take about 3 months. You then have to apply for an IDNR water allocation. They will tell you it'll be 6 months just to be safe. What we've seen is it's about a year. Then we have design, final permitting, advertising, bidding, and about a 18-month construction schedule. So we're saying a total of about 33 months once the agreement has been decided to, where the decision has been made to purchase water. With that, I'm going to turn over to Chad Loudcamp. EEI had some different costs than we did, and he's just going to explain the differences between our costs and their costs.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Again, yeah, just wanted to touch on a few things here, just to kind of understand the difference in costs that were had between some previous studies from EEI and also the feasibility study that we had performed. And really, one of the big ones here is the transmission main piping costs. EEI had indicated that they thought our costs were just a little bit low and that they should be bumped up by $75 per linear feet for 30-inch and $50 per linear feet for 42-inch. And you know, when we talk about a 20-mile segment, that is quite cumulative. So there was a difference of about $8.16 million for that stretch, for that distance. And just as a point of reference, our unit cost that we used in our study was $500 per linear feet for 30-inch diameter water main and $600 per linear feet for 42-inch diameter transmission main. And we based the cost on actual bid prices that we received for similar sized mains installed in the Chicagoland area. And we also applied a 10% contingency that was included to account for unknown conditions. This accounted for approximately $6 million. And in addition to that, the unit costs are based on just a dense urban installation. So we looked at some installations, again, in the Chicagoland area that were based on going through the middle of towns, villages, cities, and so that we felt like our prices were just a little bit conservative. There's certainly some opportunity here for some of the routing to be done in a more open rural area where the unit costs are expected to be somewhat less. Transitioning now to maybe another point that was, again, there was a significant difference in our costs. There was an assumption made by EI that there was no existing reservoirs and pumping stations that were used in for the receiving stations. And that's fine, that's a conservative estimate. They had 2 million gallons ground storage tanks at each receiving, and that resulted in between $11.5 and $12 million per each station. Generally, what we've seen is when the DePage Water Commission ties in, that you do tie it into a location that does have an existing reservoir and or pumping station. Hopefully, you can eliminate a lot of or all of that cost. So we used a much less value of about $750,000 for each connection point, which is, again, based on similar types of construction and size of mains where the connections would take place and the types that we expect for those receiving stations. So if you add that all up, you're looking at a discrepancy of about $44 million if 2 connection points is assumed for each of the communities. Just a couple other points here. In our opinion, we reviewed some of the unit costs that were provided in the EEI report, and our opinion, the $3 per 1,000 gallons that was used just seems a little bit low to account for both the O&M and the capital costs. There was $800,000 in land acquisition costs in their breakdown, and we feel like that would be built in and accounted for the $6 million that we had in that 10% contingency that we had in our study. We do anticipate that the easement costs, if there are any, that again, you know, it's a little more wide open as far as what the routing had showed us. So we don't anticipate a lot of easements, but if there are, we do feel like that should be accounted for. And I think certainly that at this point, what we do agree on is that a more detailed route study would really help refine those costs. We can look at the highway crossings, the railroad crossings, those types of things that we really want to nail down and make sure that we do, in fact, have due diligence and fine-tune those costs to make sure it's an accurate representation. And with that, we'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Yes, sir. When you talk about calculating the cost of purchasing the easements, Would those be considered like you'd be purchasing from other municipalities? Or are we talking about actually buying private property?
It could be a number of things. It could be private properties. And we've done that certainly in the past. So it depends on what the availability is within the right of way to install the water conditioning. And sometimes you've got, we've seen it where we've had issues where we can't install, say, along the actual roadway. It has to be outside of the limits of the pavement. And sometimes the utilities can get very, very dense in those areas, which has made us have to pull out and acquire some properties. It happens in some cases.
We just, on this one we're doing for Bartlett right now, for the Water Commission, who's going to go through this municipality and they want us to repave all the streets. There's going to be about $4 or $5 million. Instead of Water Commission, there was a stock farm and a church. They got easements for, I think it was less than $100,000. It saved like a mile of pipe and it saved all that restoration. So for less than $100,000, they saved a lot of money just in routing costs.
So then, when you're, so this is like an estimation based on going through Book and 75th and kind of coming down through Oswego and then we would tap on. So our costs, like our share, doesn't really include any shared costs between Oswego except for where the points, where we connect in Oswego then, right?
No, I mean, this big pipeline that's gonna come out here from DuPage, Oswego's gonna pay part, you're gonna pay part. So if you're doing it on your own, or if they're doing it on their own, the cost would be a lot more.
Right. Well, I guess where I'm confused is, so Oswego pays for it, or like we're both paying for everything all the way through to Yorkville, but we each have our own individualized costs. I guess what I don't understand is why their share is, and ours is a little bit smaller.
That's been brought up and would be a point of negotiation in the final details. So their assumption was basically just where they thought that Oswego's end connection point would stop, and then only ours would begin.
Right.
And that's why it's like 2/3 Oswego, 1/3 Yorkville.
Which I'm cool with. I know we have coupons, but I don't want to, I wouldn't want to have them foot the entire bill when in actuality we're doing this together to save money. But it would be really cool. Maybe we could just send a tweet. Is that what the kids are doing? All right, and then my other question was, and this is just because I follow the news and I'm a big fan of the folks at Standing Rock, Fight the Power. In the case of let's say a semi blasts through the pipeline at some point along the area, what's that?
Underground pipeline?
Underground?
The semi that goes through the underground pipeline?
On 70, when you're on 75th, so that would be the south side of 75th, there is a pipeline that goes across, there's a ton of them, parallel. Isn't that the DuPage water?
No, they're at least 5 feet of cover.
Okay, so everything is submerged.
Right.
Okay, so let's say that a semi goes into the chops this puppy.
Or a submarine.
All right, a submarine is coming up Book Road, and it's full steam ahead towards a 30, or would that be a 42 at that point? Whatever the diameter of the pipe will be. Number one, do you have like shut-off stations every so often? Okay, so that's question one. Number two is, what's our downtime and what will we plan for in a contingency if there's no water supply for X amount of time?
Well, a couple of things. We looked at that in the report. I think we said the downtime would be 3 to 5 days, something like that. So in that 3 to 5 days, you'd have to ration water and hopefully we'd have enough in your existing reservoirs. The other thing is, every water commission we've worked on, Northwest Water Commission, Central Lake County Job, DuPage Water Commission, they all recommend to keep the wells in service. They've never, like DuPage has been in service now since 1991, I believe. They've never lost water.
Okay.
But the communities keep the wells up just in case.
Right.
You rather have some water than no water.
Right, yeah. Well, like I always, like, we're Yorkville, so once you get a car wash, it rains. If you want a quote for Yorkville, is get a car wash, make it rain. The other question I had was, all right, so you guys have the keys to our water. So what's to say if 15 years down the road, and I don't want to talk about Canada getting upset with the water from Lake Michigan, but let's say somebody in DuPage is upset with me because I didn't vote for a roadway or something like that. Can someone upstream from us have the power to turn off our water?
Well, you're going to have whatever you negotiate, say a 30-year contract. I was involved in, date myself here, but 1981, negotiating 25 and 30-year contract between the Northwest Water Commission and Evanston. They've already negotiated that twice now, in good faith on both sides. I don't know if you've been reading the papers, but Harvey hasn't paid the water bill of Chicago, and I don't know how many years. Chicago can't cut them off. So once you start it, unless you really do something.
We would shut up.
You done, Joe?
Yes, sir, sorry.
Joe?
I was curious for the DuPage Water Commission, is that an appointed or an elected body? That's my first question.
Okay, there's 11 board members. 5 of them are appointed by the mayors of the 26 municipalities. 5 of them are appointed by the county board, and the chairman is appointed by the county board.
By the DuPage County Board?
Right.
And then they control the rate.
Well, the rate really is controlled by Chicago, and then theirs is on top of Chicago, so.
So basically the two-tier control, Metro West, but is it?
DuPage Water.
No, but upstream to the lake, isn't that
Chicago.
the Chicago?
What is that?
What is it?
The city of Chicago, the DuPage Water Commission.
Mayor.
Okay, so I guess my only concern is something to think about is that our water rates are controlled by individuals over whom we have no authority to elect, kick off the board, put on the board. So we are at the mercy of Chicago and DuPage County for our water rates. If they triple it, they triple it. So,
But again, the Water Commission has a thing with Chicago where it will not go up more than the cost of inflation.
so it would be in the contract.
Right, and then your contract with the Water Commission, this is where you negotiate your terms.
The existing DuPage Water Commission rate contract with Chicago ends in 2024. It was originally a 40-year term. They have the right to renew it for a similar term. It is inflation-based, but there are ways that they can increase it for greater than that, as long as they're doing it equally across their entire system. So that was something that we had asked at some point or another. So given that DWC is one of the larger customers for Chicago, it's doubtful that they would try to do anything that would seriously increase the rates, but there'd be no long-term guarantee of that.
And I guess my last question is, as far as term, you brought the 30-year or whatever that number. I mean, 30 years is really not that long of time. When you think about it, when you're spending $70 million on connecting water. Have there been longer terms, and are there terms where there's renewal being our option? I mean, is that something that's done through other communities? Because I don't want 30 years for $70 million and then we're done. We can't negotiate another contract. That goes by very quickly.
Yeah, the contract between Evanston and Northwest Water Commission, I think, was 20 years, but then after 12 years or 15 years, each one had the right to extend it if both parties agreed, and they've done that a couple of times.
I have had the opportunity to be in one of the meetings with the various parties that get their water from Harvey. And one of the issues they're having as they're correcting the situation and rerouting their point of Atlantic Michigan taking water is that they are, unlike what I saw on your map, requiring mandating for safety purposes, to Joe's point, a looping system. So that if Joe's submarine hits this way, then the water can be moved another way. I don't see that at all in the lines that you have set up.
We would be end of the line. To the extent that we don't have any customers north or south of us, and there isn't any discussion currently, that would be something that we would have to address within our own system to have adequate storage within the system.
One of the mandates of the system that I'm referring to, having been in this meeting, was 3 days, minimum of 3 days storage, so that each of the customers have 3 days storage. They determined that still wasn't sufficient. And so they are mandating additional cost to do a looping system so that there will never be an issue.
I assume that a looping system at the end of the line would almost
Really?
double our cost.
But it was like the important thing,
Right.
being at the end of the line is more important for us than anyone.
Right, but I mean, looping,
I know,
yeah.
that's the discussion.
I guess we have to look at storage, how much that would cost.
Right, and that was one of the things that EEI had suggested as, you know, you put additional water towers in, so that you have more storage, which obviously that increases your cost pretty greatly. And so that's.
I've placed in the city. I understand how water towers work.
So that's the $12 million that you guys pointed out on your difference was each, was it water tower or water facility?
Ground storage.
Ground storage, and that was $2 million. So daily we're at 1.8 if we're heavy, right? So if we wanted 3 days, we'd be shooting towards 6 to 7 million gallons of water.
Well, there, at that point, you'd be rationing too, though.
According to this, you have 4.55 million gallons now storage, and then DuPage will give you credit for what they have throughout their system. So they're giving you credit for 5.76 million gallons of water, and your average day right now is 1.38 or something. So 3 times that would be about 4. So you have more than 3 days right now.
So if there is a break, or hopefully not, wouldn't happen, but what's your plan on how you do? Do you go fix the break, or do you attempt to put a bypass over the break?
You fix the break. DuPage has several contractors on 24-hour call, and again, knock on wood up to now, they've never, maybe had some problem, but never really had shut down the system.
So they would try to fix the break instead of patching it around.
Right. I mean, if you ever go their main facility, they have pieces, every kind of pipe in their system, out in the yard, covered so the sun doesn't impact and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're pretty well prepared.
Do you have a handy, when we looked at pulling off the box, about what was that number?
Cost-wise?
Yeah, cost-wise.
It was 60 to 70 million for individual, and then for Toledo and Yorkville to do it together, it was in the 110, 120 million dollar range. But again, there's all these assumptions.
Right, yeah, I know, it's not a
high variance.
I know you didn't go out for bid for it, I was just wondering what the general number was.
Also, with that, you have to make sure, because there could be a situation where you can't pull it out, so then you're going to be forced to also have your own.
Right, no, I get
So in both situations, we can't just dump our pumps. Like, you have to keep going with your wells. You would just use them less frequently.
Most likely.
So, I mean, that's, you're backing up your kind. Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Did we already approve the route study, or we just talked about it at committee?
We talked about it in committee. Our contribution was only $4,500 or so. So, you know, that seems like a no-brainer to me. So, if anybody has an objection, happy to hear it. That's all I'm not.
For what meeting?
The routes,
The route study.
routes.
So the actual drawing was just a staff level decision to say, there's farm fields here, you know, this is what we think, but it may be cheaper to do a more direct route, even if it is through Penn's area, or a less direct route if it's through a more rural area. And so that type of, you know, actual physical route is what they would.
And our portion was $4,500 then?
Yeah.
Look, that's not a train
As
order.
long as it's not a train step.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions? Big topic. Our staff, anything to add? Or? What's our pressure right now? Water pressure.
Anywhere from 55 to about 75, depending on which pressure. We have some downtown that are close to 80, but that's just because of the elevation.
Tall glass of water.
Okay, that's water. Okay,
Be nice if we could bond that over for more than 20 years.
Yes, sir.
yeah, maybe we'll, for the 100, 2 years. Okay, well, there's no other questions. Thank you very much for all the information. I know it's a lot to digest. But I know we're looking forward to doing a route study and getting some more concrete numbers. It's a big issue, and spending that kind of money, you want to make the right decision, so. But
Thank you.
Thank you.
I talked to my friend I work with in Bartlett. He was like, I don't care what it costs, bring me like Michigan water. He had to deal with all the algae blooms and everything else. And it's like drinking a glass of mold is the way he explained it.
Don't we run the same risk of
Not algae blooms, zebra mollusks, so it's less of a concern overall. Yeah.
You're presenting something else? You're putting it away? Okay, so, jump on talking, we'll move on to the AECOM commission study and go to our regular agenda. So I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second. Roll call, please.
Second, please.
Seaver.
One.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Olszewski,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Frieders,
Aye.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting on March 27th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
Comments, questions, or corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to mayor's report. Two proclamations here. Interestingly enough, the first one's a proclamation for Rain Barrel Month. Is that a typo? Do I have a proclamation for, I have the Lions Club and suicide prevention.
It might be a typo then.
Yeah.
No, I've got it.
I got it right here.
I don't have the proclamation.
Oh,
Okay, well, I proclaim May Rain Barrel Month. I should read it, there you go. Okay. Next, I have another proclamation for the Lions Club. I guess all the honchos from Lions Club International are coming to Sandwich and thinking about doing some international conferences there. So we, in support of our neighbors to the west, have decided to do a proclamation. Will be resolved, the United City of Yorkville welcomes Lions Club International to Sandwich and Kendall County. If you'd like to read that one, I have a copy here. Next one is a proclamation for suicide prevention, and this one I will read for my good friend Joel. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and is intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. The simple goal is to learn how to help those around us and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas according to the CDC, each year more than 41,000 people die by suicide. Whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the U.S. and the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 24. Whereas Yorkville, Illinois is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place a full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, PAC leaders, police officers, and parents as partners in supporting our community and simply being available to one another. And whereas local organizations like Suicide Prevention Services and national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain a taboo topic to speak on. Whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. Whereas I encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors, over the next few days and genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, message, handshake, or hug can go a long way towards helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Gary J. Galinsky, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the United City of Yorkville. So Joel, thank you for all your work on this. Definitely worthy cause. Okay, there is a treasurer's report for 2018. Since there was no admin committee, that is informational. Oh, we have to approve that, huh? I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for March 2018.
Second.
Comments or questions? That is good. Roll call. Oh, Jackie? Pardon me?
Sorry, are we on your report?
We're on month.
Treasurer's report.
Yeah, never mind. Can we go back, can I do this back for a minute?
We can go
Before
wherever
you
you want.
go and put out this proclamation, there's a words called on.
Oh, really? On the suicide?
Like, yeah. so,
Whereas.
Whereas suicide is a tendency, whereas it's wrong. So we can correct it before we, yeah.
Too late, I signed it.
Which whereas? Well, here is.
Oh, where?
Oh, I see.
Where?
That just
There
makes
it
it
is.
important. That just makes it important.
No,
Oh, Chris.
Chris, I'm just speaking out for her.
Thanks, Carl.
No one's gonna touch that.
No.
Okay,
Nothing here. Sorry.
any, I'll start on the end, it's retarded.
Okay, sorry.
Any, questions, comments on treasurer report? You need a roll call for that, or voice?
Chip Royce.
All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the
Point of order. I was just thinking of you tonight.
Yeah,
So, on the mayor's report, we were supposed to have a motion to authorize all the retreaters to do some stuff?
I don't have it on the mayor's report, do I?
Why? Yeah. It's on the motion
On the
sheet.
motion sheet?
We have-
It's a motion to approve the treasurer's
Oh.
motion to authorize the conduct operation.
It's not on the agenda, though. It's not like first handout.
Well, the
Oh,
Lions Club was very agenda.
no. There's no great barrel on it, though.
Yeah. Maybe I'll run the bump thing.
Sean usually talks. All right, so I'm gonna back up. Do we, do the voice vote on treasurer report? Can we do that?
Yes, we did that.
Okay, so we're good on treasurer's report?
Right, go back.
I'll entertain the motion to authorize all the retreaters to conduct outreach to other municipalities to encourage them to proclaim September 2018 as National Suicide Prevention Month.
Oh.
Second.
All in favor?
Relevant stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him up. He's already texted.
He's hit me up many times, and I appreciate it.
Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jackie, where were we?
Do you want to go to the information technology services?
Unless you want me to go somewhere else.
Watch your mouth now, Jerry.
I was channeling that, okay, sorry. Sometimes it comes out.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement as revised for sharing information and technology services between the Village of Oswego and the United City of Yorkville, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Cook,
Aye.
Locher,
Aye.
Frieders,
Aye.
Chirulis,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Olszewski.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving the First Amendment to the Professional Services Agreement for Information Technology Services by and between InterDev LLC and the United City of Yorkville, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Cook,
Aye.
Locher,
Aye.
Frieders,
Aye.
Chirulis,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Olszewski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, there are no committee reports tonight. There's an item from Park Board that is only informational. There's a proposal in the packet from Friends of Clark Park, handicap proposal. I don't know, Tim Harrington, do you want to say anything about that, or park board looked at it, is in favor of it?
Yes, they are. I mean, this is part of the proposal they had presented to the city and to Friends of Clark Park. If they put together a 501c3, which they've done, and to do some work there over the next year to help revitalize that area.
Okay, any questions, concerns? When they get done, that'd be the perfect place for a restaurant.
Yeah.
Don't comment.
Okay, so that is just informational. Moving on to planning and zoning. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance approving amended freestanding sign conditions for the Kendall Marketplace planned unit development and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Tourilus.
Aye.
Pelosiman.
Aye.
Monkhauser.
Nay.
Nay. Vilshitsky.
Nay.
Cook.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Nay.
Freighters.
Aye.
Passes.
Was it 4-3?
4-3.
Is that 5?
Yes.
Aaron Linsky.
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance approving amended conditions to the Kendall Marketplace planned unit development and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved. Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Pelosiman.
Aye.
Monkhauser.
Aye.
Vilshitsky.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Nay.
Freighters.
Aye.
Tourilus.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. No city council report, city clerk's report. Thank you, community and liaison reports.
I just had one from Whispering Meadows.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Galinsky, thank you for the approval of the change order. Tony, want to get a picture? There you go. No one's ever bought the mayor flowers. So Whispering Meadows says thank you. We will not forget this. We appreciate you. Here's another bag.
More nice things for us. Appreciate it. Do you have any other community representatives? Tomorrow, we do have a drive down to Springfield to lobby our legislatures. I talked to Wheeler, so he'll be expecting us. We'll probably see him at some point. And you're going to?
I am.
Okay. Do we have any staff reports?
Just one item, Your Honor. Please introduce Steve Brash, who's here. He's our new facilities manager. So he's 2 days on the job, one day in Oswego, 1 day in Yorkville. Mostly dealing, I think, with our period number of problems that have popped up in the past week. So he comes to us from the Brookfield Zoo. There will be a press release that will be put out by Oswego in the next week or so. And welcome to the city.
So, first job, Steve, is extracting the mold out of the old jail, please.
Already have any of that this morning.
Any other staff reports? Okay, additional business? No additional business? I guess we need an executive session?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for litigation. And there are minutes. Anyone want to say that? No.
Litigation, no.
We have a motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.